Tonight, a childcare crisis. 4 in 5 parents in Scotland face spiralling costs to pay for nursery.
No one has oversight of what's happening for children younger than 3. MSPs, counsellors we speak to, they don't know. They don't know if there's places, they don't know how much it costs. There's no oversight here.
Also making the headlines, a murder investigation is underway in Glasgow. Detectives are looking for the killer of a 23-year-old woman. Brodie McGregor was found dead in a Springburn flat.
The former Conservative MP, dumped by his party while he was in intensive care, speaks to STV News about his recovery.
I wouldn't have chosen to be in the situation I'm in, but the progress and the journey that I've been through since being here has really been life-changing, life-affirming.
And we're here in Dunfermline as some unlikely feathered friends are awarded the freedom of the city.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Campaign groups are calling for an urgent review of childcare costs as families say they're struggling to cope. Research suggests more than 80% of Scottish parents are already facing an increase in fees and a waiting list for spaces.
The organisation Women in Data and the charity Pregnant Then Screwed say the system is broken and families are simply not getting the childcare they want or need. Laura Piper reports.
For Lebo and daughter Amo, the system simply isn't in their favour. Amo's nursery fees cost £1,000 a month, and with another baby on the way, the family are feeling the pressure.
I think a few months after she started, the cost did go up. So I am a little concerned about next year, if obviously they are going to go up, and if they go up, but by how much.
Unlike England, not all children aged 2 in Scotland are eligible for free childcare, and fees are rising. 4 in 5 parents are now facing an increase in their childcare costs.
It's quite a juggle, I think, trying to make decisions around whether it's worth working or not, and impact on careers and all of that.
According to the charity Pregnant Then Screwed, 80% of parents have already seen their fees go up or are expecting them to rise. Campaigners are calling for an urgent review.
No one has oversight of what's happening for children younger than 3. MSPs, counsellors we speak to, they don't know. They don't know if there's places, they don't know how much it costs. There's no oversight here. And this is why we're calling for this review. We need to get to the bottom of what's going on. We can't fix this problem until we know what's causing it, and then we can start to address the childcare issues.
The National Day Nurseries Association say the sector is in crisis.
Once a child turns 3, they're entitled to a certain number of free childcare hours. But for those under 3, it's up to families to pay for that. Full-time, monthly, it can cost as much as £1,500 to send a child to a private nursery.
The Scottish Government say they are investing £1 billion this financial year to deliver funded hours, and say they are continuing to work with local authorities to increase the uptake of funded childcare for eligible 2-year-olds. But there is still no confirmation on when or if full funding for all 2-year-olds will be rolled out.
We really need a review of the way that funding is provided directly to private providers, or how it could be audited through local authorities to ensure that the funding is reaching the children and the families that need it the most before it filters through and goes to other priorities.
The priority, they say, should always be the child. Laura Piper, STV News.
Detectives investigating the murder of a young woman in Glasgow have set up a special online portal and are encouraging people to submit information, including video or still images, which may help find her killer.
23-year-old Brodie McGregor died after being found with serious injuries in a flat in Springburn in Glasgow on Monday morning. A police presence remains there this evening. Well, our chief reporter Sharon Frew joins us now from Springburn. And Sharon, what more do you know?
Well, the police tape may have been removed, but officers are still inside the block of flats behind me. And within the last hour, we've seen detectives carrying out door-to-door inquiries. Brodie McGregor was found inside a flat here at around 10:15 on Monday morning. It was only after the results of a post-mortem that police confirmed that they are treating the 23-year-old's death as murder. Very little details have been officially released about Brodie. It's understood she was the mother of a young child, and those who knew her and her family have been posting tributes online. Detectives say they are providing support to Brodie's relatives and friends as they try to establish exactly what happened here. They're keen to speak to anyone who was in this area of Springburn between the hours of 4:30 and 10:30 on Monday morning. They want to speak to anyone who may have seen anything suspicious. In addition to the door-to-door inquiries, a website has been set up and people can send any relevant information there direct to the inquiry team. Now, detectives are also asking anyone in this area with dashcam or CCTV to look back and check the footage, as they may have captured something that's relevant to this murder inquiry. Detectives say any piece of information, no matter how small, could be vital in finding out what happened to Brodie.
Sharon in Glasgow, thank you. The UK Government and the Scottish Government have been talking today amid growing concern about public spending and some big budget decisions ahead. The Chancellor told business leaders in Scotland growth is her top priority.
Meanwhile, the First Minister says strengthening and growing the economy will be at the heart of his programme for government next week. Well, our political editor, Colin Mackay, has been following them. Colin, what else have they been saying?
Well, first of all, the Chancellor. She's been out and about in Glasgow meeting business leaders, including the CBI, Scottish Power, Edrington, a big whisky producer, and a number of other companies too. And she visited the National Manufacturing Institute in Renfrewshire. Now, yesterday, the Prime Minister was all gloom in the garden of Downing Street, warning that things would get worse before they get better and that the budget would be painful. Today, Rachel Reeves was trying to sound a little bit more positive, although she admits she's still facing more difficult decisions on spending, welfare and tax, but she's not going to give any details of that before the budget. But she's also trying to break through the doom and gloom now by talking up the prospects for economic growth.
In areas of advanced manufacturing, in shipbuilding, in green technologies and industries of the future, in space and satellites. There is huge opportunity to grow the UK economy, including here in Scotland, and that's why growth is the #1 mission of this new government, because unless we grow the economy, we're going to continue to be in a situation where taxes are at too high a level and public spending is not sustainable. We've got to break out of this doom loop, which is why growing the economy is the #1 priority of this new government.
And Colin, the Chancellor and First Minister also met today.
Yep, relations between the new UK Labour government and the SNP government seem to be better than they were already under the Conservative government, but then really they couldn't be any worse, I don't suppose. Now, Rachel Reeves and John Swinney talked about shared priorities to fix the country's economic foundations, and he warned against a return to austerity. It all comes on the day GDP figures for Scotland showed a slight fall, down 0.3% in June, although across the quarter it's up 0.6%. The First Minister will announce his programme for government for the next year a week today, and he says economic growth will be one of his top priorities too.
At the heart of the government's agenda is the importance of strengthening economic growth in Scotland. By strengthening economic growth, we create greater investment opportunities in Scotland, and we create greater opportunities for us to build our public finances into the bargain. So the government's programme is going to be very focused on encouraging and supporting growth within the Scottish economy. The figures this morning indicate there is growth in the Scottish economy, and we want to build on that in the period to come.
John Swinney was visiting Systema Scotland's Big Noise project in Stirling today. Trying to strike a positive note, he announced £2.6 million of funding for the scheme, which teaches about 4,000 kids to play musical instruments in Stirling, Glasgow, Aberdeen, Dundee and Edinburgh. And it must have been quite a nice change for him, rather than just talking about cuts. Finance Secretary Shona Robinson will tell Parliament about the extent of the cuts she'll have to make to meet public sector pay demands next Tuesday, and that could top £250 million. But politicians have been trying to paint a bit of a brighter picture today. But don't get carried away. The gloom will return next week.
All right, Colin, and you'll keep us right up to date with it all. Thanks very much for joining us. The former MP unceremoniously dumped by the Scottish Conservatives as he was being treated in intensive care for a spinal illness has given his first TV interview to STV News, speaking about his recovery and what the future holds.
The former Scotland Office Minister David Duguid was replaced by the outgoing party leader Douglas Ross in the July election, with the former Banff and Buchan MP saying he had fully intended to run for election. He's been speaking to our reporter Fraser Nichol.
Life is very different now for David Duguid. From spending 7 years on the benches of the House of Commons, he now spends his days in a wheelchair, recovering from a sudden and traumatic illness.
I had what they think was a spinal stroke, but it was certainly some kind of internal spinal cord injury. So there was no external damage as such. It was all from the inside out. And that essentially paralysed me early on. But it's not since I came here to the spinal injury unit here, the National Spinal Injury Unit, that my rehab really kicked off. I'm more or less standing, I'm more or less walking. Still need a bit of help. Still got some improvement to go. But I'm certainly as in good a shape as I ever thought I could be.
The former Banff and Buchan MP has spent 5 months in recovery, both in Aberdeen and Glasgow. But in that time, he also faced another personal setback when Douglas Ross announced he would be replacing him as the candidate in the general election.
Unfortunately, and with real regret, the party management board concluded that David could not proceed as our candidate. And I've decided I need to lead from the front. So this evening, I will put myself forward for nomination as the Scottish Conservative candidate for Aberdeenshire North and Moray East.
Mr Duguid responded at the time, stating in clear terms that he had intended to run and it had not been his choice to step back. Now, focusing on his recovery, the former Scotland Office Minister did not want to discuss the political trauma he faced, rather reflecting on the progress he's made.
I wouldn't have chosen to be in a situation I'm in, but the progress and the journey that I've been through since being here has really been life-changing, life-affirming, and really actually quite a good experience, if I can look at it that way.
While Mr Duguid is not the only former MP now adjusting to life outside of politics after the election, his unplanned exit has given him a fresh perspective on what lies ahead.
I've had a lot of thoughts about what happens next, and I've got a few options. But my main focus, whatever happens next, is getting the best, absolutely the best care I can get in this place.
Fraser Nichol, STV News.
Other stories, and the serial rapist who murdered Emma Caldwell has lost his appeal against the length of his sentence. Ian Packer was found guilty earlier this year of killing the 27-year-old in remote woods in Lanarkshire in 2005. The 51-year-old was ordered to serve at least 36 years in jail before he can apply for parole. Appeal judges dismissed his lawyer's argument that the sentence was excessive.
2 men have pled guilty after 2 days of evidence in a drug smuggling trial. Gerard Carbon and Ryan McPhee have admitted being involved in a serious organised crime and the production and supply of Atizolam pills between March and June 2020. They will be sentenced at a later date. The trial at the High Court in Glasgow will continue tomorrow against Jane Stevenson and 3 others who deny the drugs charges they face.
A man has been jailed for 8 years for serious sexual offences in Edinburgh. 26-year-old Conor Hagley pleaded guilty to the abuse, including rape, of a woman between 2019 and 2021. He's also been placed on the sex offenders register indefinitely.
The Scottish Government has confirmed that 477 prisoners have been released so far as part of its emergency early release plan. The scheme came into effect earlier this year in a bid to tackle overcrowding in prisons. A report in coming weeks is expected to provide fuller information and look closely at reconviction rates. Now, it's been closed for 20 years, but Prestwick's historic cinema, the Broadway, is being brought back to life thanks to a charity dedicated to its restoration. Friends of the Broadway have secured a grant to purchase the building and are now beginning essential works. The last film screened there was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1976. Since then, it's been a bingo hall and an amusement arcade. They hope it will start welcoming audiences back for a night at the pictures again very soon. As Caitlin Hutchinson reports.
It was once the jewel in Prestwick's crown, built in 1935 at a time when cinema was king. But it had to move with the times, and the building has played host to all manner of amusements over the years in order to survive.
The only thing I've not done here is played bingo. I've watched a film here as a 12-year-old watching the Poseidon Adventure. I've played squash in the squash courts down here. I've spent many hours in the amusements at the front as a youngster. They used to have the school prize givings down here, so it'd be great to see films back in Prestwick.
There was always what we called the wee picture, which was normally quite good. And then you had the news, forthcoming attractions, sometimes a cartoon. We never came upstairs, they were the dear seats. We never went to cheap seats down at the front. It was usually the mid-stalls we went to.
One ticket for the matinee, sir?
Yes, please.
In what was known as the golden age of cinema, admission prices here ranged mostly from around 1 to 3 shillings. If you were down there in the cheap seats, it could be as little as 6p.
Fueled by memories of its heyday, Friends of the Broadway are now working hard to bring it back to life. They can't wait to start selling tickets again. But first, they need to fundraise.
First thing we'll probably look to get rid of would be the 2 squash courts that are in the back of the cinema, and once the building's made safe, it's largely about rebuilding and designing and working with our architects.
And there's much from the original cinema to save, including one of Scotland's best preserved 1930s era projection rooms.
This is our very own cinema paradiso. We've got the original record which they played during the intermissions, we've got the lighting equipment, the amplifiers, and of course the projectors. Buildings like these can make people feel happier, more joyful, more connected, less lonely, less isolated, and that's what we're bringing back.
The rebuild will also include a museum space to showcase its rich history.
We're really fortunate the Broadway is such an incredible survivor. Behind me we've got original wallpapers and clocks on the wall, and the projection room's like a time capsule. So the vision of the museum is to preserve the nation's collective memory of cinema going, and that's everything from intermission and usherettes serving ice cream to preserving the art of projection, and again preserving not just the memories of the Broadway but all of the cinemas all across Scotland.
It's spent a long time with its shutters up, but the lights are now well and truly back on at the Broadway, with a grand reopening just around the corner. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News, Prestwick.
Now, Raman is here with the sports. So what do you get coming up tonight, Rama?
Plenty, John, which is great news. More airtime for me, less for you. I'm going to look ahead to 2 massive European matches for Hearts and Kilmarnock. Could be some bad news for Hearts ahead of their second leg, and just a couple of days to go before the transfer window closes. Clubs are making their move, including Celtic, who have added to their squad.
So if you've told us it all, is there any point listening anymore?
Always, John.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
Good evening. We start with transfer news, and Celtic's latest signing, Alex Bailly, says the team's style of play makes him the perfect fit for the champions. The left-back has joined the club on a season-long loan deal from Barcelona and becomes Celtic's 5th addition this summer. At Rangers, Todd Cantwell has held talks with Blackburn Rovers today over a proposed £500,000 move. The midfielder's future lies away from Ibrox after handing in a transfer request. And St Mirren have agreed a fee with Wolves for Ethan Sutherland. The forward is set to join the English Premier League side. Now, Hearts will give Lawrence Shankland every chance to be fit for the Europa League playoff second leg against Victoria Pilsen tomorrow night. The striker hasn't trained this week after picking up a knee knock at the weekend. The Tynecastle side are aiming to overturn a 1-0 first leg deficit. Meanwhile, Derek McInnes has called on Kilmarnock to be Copenhagen's biggest nightmare as they bid to overcome a 2-goal deficit to qualify to the Conference League. Jamie Borthwick reports.
Final preparations ahead of a big European night at Tynecastle, but a notable absentee. Lawrence Shankland is Hearts' talisman in attack, but a painful knock to his knee has sidelined him since Sunday.
It's a quick turnaround for the games. There's not much training. We'll give it as long as possible and we'll see how he is tomorrow. Listen, he's been a big player for us. His record in the last 2 years has been impressive. He's an experienced player. If he doesn't get his 100th appearance tomorrow, I'm sure he'll get it soon enough.
Hearts have lost 4 games in a row, conceding 9 goals. Craig Gordon has seen it all in a Hearts jersey, and he believes a united front is vital when they face Victoria Pilsen.
From the guys in the stands to the management team and the players, everybody pushing in the same direction, and if we can have that togetherness with everybody and everybody sticking together, then that is when Hearts are at their best. If it's not like that, then that's when things can go wrong. But when everybody is pulling together, we're a force to be reckoned with.
For Kilmarnock too, the task is to put domestic issues behind them as they mount a charge for the Conference League.
We've earned the right to take a team of Copenhagen stature on, but there's no doubt we need to try and make it awful for them tomorrow. We've got to try and make it their biggest nightmare. We've got to try and make it the game go our way.
And successfully overcoming their 2-0 first leg deficit would have a huge impact on McInnes's plans.
To get into the group stages, it would be a proper game changer for us. My Friday might look a bit different to how it will be if we don't, because we need to go and get 3 or 4 players signed to deal with the demand of group stage football. But maybe I shouldn't have said that. I've not had that clarified for the board, but we clearly would need reinforcements to help us.
Killie have fitness doubts over Kyle Vassell and Fraser Murray for the match at Rugby Park. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
Rugby and Glasgow Warriors centre Hugh Jones says the players are determined to build on their United Rugby Championship triumph and create something special at Scotstoun. Franco Smith's side were crowned champions last season after defeating Bulls in the final in South Africa. They begin their defence of their title away to Ulster next month. And Jones, who was promoting a new sponsorship deal with the national team, says the players are eyeing more silverware.
We want to build on now and not just be a once-off, oh, remember that time we won the league. No, we want to build something here, and we'd love to go on and win the league again and then hopefully challenge in Europe as well. So yeah, that's obviously the plan going forward, is to build on that victory and make something happen sort of really special at Glasgow.
And that, folks, is all of your sport tonight. See you again tomorrow.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
And some breaking news. A 52-year-old man has been arrested in connection with the death of 23-year-old Brodie McGregor. That story we brought you earlier in the programme. Her body was found in the Springburn area of Glasgow.
All right, let's get the weather now with Sean.
Light winds rolling in from the west. We'll be joined by some very welcomed ice creams. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. I'm sure quite a few of you will be rather excited to wave goodbye to August after the relentless rain some spots have had, especially across the Highlands and Skye. Here we've had about 500-600 millimetres of rain in places. Astonishing stuff for August. And in Clyde Muirshiel, about 400 millimetres, the higher parts of Renfrewshire, Inverclyde and also North Ayrshire. So very, very wet August. But ironically, in the last couple of days of the month and as we head towards meteorological autumn, the weather gets just a wee bit better for a time. Tomorrow, another showery day to come. The showers we've had out there today, some quite heavy ones, easing. Then through tonight, largely dry. But then tomorrow, we're right back to square one. Sunshine and showers. The bulk of the showers across the Highlands, Stirlingshire, Argyll and Bute. But then we'll see those showers spreading into eastern and southern parts later on. But hopefully by the end of the afternoon into the evening, a lot of dry weather with sunshine. But the weather starts to get better. Friday and Saturday, pressure starting to build. Temperatures 17 or 18. They're not overly high on Friday, but with the sunshine around, it will feel pleasant, and those light winds as well. Warmer on Saturday. I think Saturday will probably be our best day of the weekend. A lot of dry weather with sunshine. Temperatures perhaps North Lanarkshire, North Ayrshire, Glasgow, Renfrewshire up to highs of 20 or 21 degrees Celsius. So feeling very nice in that sunshine on Saturday. Cold night Saturday night into Sunday. A little bit more cloud coming in, especially in the south and the east. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, it's been an exciting day in Dunfermline as some of its most famous residents have been awarded the freedom of the city, although they may well be oblivious to the honour that's been bestowed on them.
The city dwellers in question are a group of peacocks who've been living in a local park through several generations. Our reporter Amy Flett is at a special ceremony hearing more about this elaborate tale.
Well, it's been 2 years since Dunfermline was awarded its well-awaited city status during the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Well, it wouldn't be Dunfermline without its beloved peacocks, who are now the first to be awarded the Freedom of the City scroll. Well, I'm joined now by the Provost of Fife, Councillor Jim Leishman, and Assistant Lead Warden Caroline Kane. So, Jim, why were the peacocks the first on the list for this honour?
The peacocks have been in Dunfermline, the Pittencrieff Park, for years, and people every time they come down to visit, they love to see the children love to see the peacocks. And when we were deciding what a better accolade to all the staff to award them for all the hard work they do.
And Caroline, peacocks have roamed this park for quite some time, since 1905, I believe. So tell us, how did they get here?
So they were first introduced into the park by Henry Beveridge, who was a friend of Andrew Carnegie's, and it's believed that he brought over 2 breeding pairs into the park originally, and they've been here ever since.
And you've recently had some chicks join the muster, but they're yet to be named.
Yes, we don't know yet if they're peacocks or peahens, so we'll have to wait another 10 weeks till we find out whether or not they are, and then we'll decide what we're going to call them.
Well, posing, preening and pampering, for some reason Sean and John sounds quite good, don't you think? If you're looking for some suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely, we'll add them to the list.
I just don't know what Amy could possibly mean. Hey John, I mean, how long did you spend in makeup today?
There's no preening here anymore, believe me, just not possible. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Good night.